More than 60 years after the founding, the Blue Army of Our Lady of Fatima continues to spread her message in an effort to increase devotion and bring peace to our world. We'll learn more about that message tonight, so please stay with us. Thank you, and welcome. I'm Father Mitch Pacwa, and welcome to EWTN Live, our chance to bring you guests from all over the world. Before we introduce you to our guest, I want to mention that today is the feast of St. Lawrence of Rome. He was a deacon in the Church of Rome and was following the Pope. The Pope was arrested by the Romans, and he was following the Pope on his way to martyrdom, and he got arrested. They said that they would ease up his sufferings if he would turn over the treasures of the church. So he gathered the poor people and said, these are the treasure of the church. Well, the judge was not amused. St. Lawrence was a practical joker, and they didn't like that joke. So they began to put him on a grill and roast him alive. And one of the things that he said, right, telling jokes to the last minute, he said, you can turn me over, I'm done on this side. He was killed in 258 AD and is one of the great martyrs of the church. Now, our guest tonight says that the message of Fatima is a message of great hope. And to tell us more about it is the national coordinator of the World Apostolate of Fatima in the United States. So please welcome another deacon, Deacon Bob Ellis. Deacon Bob.
Thank you, Father.
Welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
Where do you hail from?
I hail from Rockland, Wisconsin, just outside of Green Bay.
Just outside Green Bay, so that's up there. That's a pretty part of the country.
It is, and it's a lot cooler.
Yes, a little cooler than where?
Than here.
Oh, than here.
Than here.
Just checking, just checking.
That's it's a little safer, too.
Safer?
Because you recall that you pointed out to me a little bit earlier today that most deacons died as martyrs.
Yes.
So, so it's probably safer.
The deacons that became saints.
Right.
Not most deacons, just the ones that become saints.
Right.
They die as martyrs. And then, of course, there's St. Ephraim, who's a good singer. So if you have a good voice, you might be in too. But it's great to have you here with us. And so that people understand a little bit about what you're doing, tell us something about the Message of Fatima. What was in short what happened at Fatima that has started up this Blue Army?
Well, in 1916, an angel appeared to the three shepherd children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, to prepare them for 6 apparitions of Our Lady, which would occur in 1917.
Okay.
May 13th through October 13th of 1917, Our Lady appeared. And there was a movie called The 13th Day that ran the circuit not long ago, and it told the story of the apparitions of Our Lady, the miracle of the sun, and what happened in the lives. And by
miracle of the sun, what do you mean by that?
The miracle of the sun was performed on October 13th. There were 70 to 100,000 people assembled in the Covadi area in Fatima because Our Lady had told the children that she would work a miracle so that all the world would believe that it was indeed a messenger from heaven, Our Lady, and she was who she said she was, and her message was a true message.
Okay.
And so those who witnessed the miracle describe it in many different ways. The sun went back and forth in the sky, it spun, it changed colors, it came down to the earth, or close to the earth, over the tree, and so on, and then went back up. And people saw this for 40 to 50 miles all around Fatima, and over 100,000 people saw it that day, and there were many conversions, and even the Masons and the Communists who were persecuting the church in Portugal, they even acknowledged that the miracle had occurred.
As a matter of fact, I got to meet the actor Martin Sheen. And Martin Sheen's father was born in Spain. And as a boy, he saw the miracle of the sun. Even though he was in Spain when it occurred, you know, across the border, he still was able to be a witness of it as well. So, so it was something that was not just a group illusion. It was something that really did happen, and people who were not at Fatima could still see it and recognize it as a great sign.
Right.
Now, this is what happened at Fatima in a nutshell. Tell us a little bit about the message of Fatima. What message, because this miracle was done to confirm that the message was true. What was the message that was confirmed by this miracle?
Okay. In very simple form, the message is threefold. Number one, hell exists and souls are being lost to hell because there is no one making reparation for their sins. That's the eternal order. Our Lady is concerned for the souls of all of her children. Number two, war is a consequence of sin. That's the temporal order. Our Mother wants all of her children to experience peace and tranquility during our sojourn on earth as we work our way toward heaven. So that's two. Number three, in order to bring about the conversion of sinners, which is required to save souls from hell and bring peace to the world, devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary is to be spread throughout the world.
Okay.
That's the message in a nutshell.
Okay. All right.
And of course, then the question arises, well, in what does devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary consist?
Right.
And during the July 13th apparition, when Our Lady said, God wishes devotion to my Immaculate Heart to be established in the world, she immediately said, if what I say to you is done, souls will be saved, peace will come to the world. She also said, if what I ask of you is ignored, there would be consequences. Russia would spread the errors of atheism throughout the world. There would be persecution of the church. The good would be martyred. The Holy Father would have much to suffer. There would be a greater and more destructive war than World War I, which was raging at the time, and there would even be the annihilation of entire nations.
And it's important to keep in mind that the apparitions in Fatima occurred before the Russian Revolution. That these were going on. The Russian Revolution occurred in later October of 1917, where the communists took over from the Mensheviks.
Right.
And so these little children would have no idea that Russia would be spreading atheism. This was not on the horizon. Russia was a very Christian country. Right. So this kind of idea was very remote from anybody's possibility, but it came true.
But it came true. And of course, why did Russia spread the errors throughout the world? Our Lady told the children on July 13th that she would come to ask for the consecration of Russia to her Immaculate Heart and the first Saturday communion of reparation. Now, she didn't ask for it in July of 1917. But heaven knows the Bolshevik Revolution is going to occur, and Russia will first impose atheism on its own people, which it did in the most brutal, millions and millions of Russians.
As a matter of fact, according to the KGB, 62 million of Russia's citizens were killed by their own government.
Isn't that horrible?
It's incredible.
Incredible. But of course, then when they finished, once they had imposed it upon their own people, then they would have global aspirations and they would want to spread atheism throughout the entire world. So Our Lady comes back in 1929 when Russia is flexing its muscle and beginning to spread atheism throughout the world. And so the consecration is asked for at that time to prevent the spread of atheism. The object of the consecration
of
Russia.
Russia. Okay.
The consecration of Russia. The actual object of the consecration is to prevent her from spreading the errors throughout the world. Okay? The means to that end is the intercession of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, which would come about by virtue of the consecration. The Pope and the bishops throughout the world would consecrate Russia. But of course, they didn't. 55 years later, John Paul II, on March 25th, 1984, finally did it. So during that 55 years, the errors of atheism spread throughout the entire world and infected every nation in the world.
And in fact, there's still a very strong atheist movement going on in Great Britain and America, where professional atheists are trying very hard to spread atheism, and they're using the universities very effectively to spread it among college students.
Right, and they're doing that with theological or philosophical atheism.
Right.
But in society in general, they're promoting practical atheism. By practical atheism, I mean, you know, most people, if you ask them, will proclaim, yeah, I believe in God. But they live their lives as if God didn't exist.
Right.
And the problems that are confronting the world today, I mean, you look around the entire world, look at our own country or look anywhere in the world, you see the economies collapsing, you see wars and conflicts, you see abortion, euthanasia. I mean, you look around and everybody is saying, what is happening? How can these things be happening? Well, the condition of the world today is a consequence of our failure to honor Our Lady's Fatima requests. She told us very simply, if what I say is done, sinners would be converted, saving souls from hell and bringing peace. And if my requests are ignored, Russia would spread the errors and everything. And what we're living today. As a matter of fact, Father Lombardi interviewed Pope Benedict XVI on May 12th last year. He was on his way to Fatima. And he asked him, you know, about the relevance of Fatima in the world today. And of course, the Pope responded by saying that we are seeing the prophecies of Fatima unfold before our very eyes today. So the critically important question is, what is it that Our Lady asked us to do? When we say spread devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, in what does devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary consist?
Right, that's one of the things that our people need to know.
Right, and essentially it consists in honoring all of the requests that she made of us at Fatima, and there are 5 specific requests that you can identify with all of Our Lady's apparitions. And the first and foremost, the most important, the most fundamental, is the sanctification of our daily duties of our life. We call it the morning offering,
right,
where we adopt a disposition of mind and heart that says, I will humbly accept whatever God chooses to permit to enter my life today. The good, the bad, my work, and everything. And I will offer that to make reparation for my own sins and for the sins of others, for the salvation of souls, and so that peace can come to the world.
And one of the things that I think I'd like our audience to know is that if you don't know how to make a morning offering, all you have to do is put morning offering on the internet, and you will get the morning offering prayer, so that you can do that prayer every day. Print it off and say it every day. Mm-hmm. Tape it on your mirror. I keep mine in my house chapel, and pray it every day.
Right. And it doesn't have to, there are a variety of morning offerings. It doesn't have to be any specific one. It is really the adoption of the disposition of mind and heart that we express in whatever words we use, that we want to offer everything that comes to us. in reparation for sin. So that's the first thing that she asked for. To help us to do those things, there are some other requests. The wearing of the brown scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. And when we say wear the scapular, we don't mean just put it on. It's kind of like hearing and letting things go in one ear and out the other. No, when you wear the scapular, it is a sign of your consecration of your day to Our Lady, you see. So it's a sign of the consecration. It is a reminder to us that we are consecrating our day to her. And it's also a protection from the snares of the devil. The straps that go over the shoulders are like Our Lady's arms, you know, reaching over us and protecting us. And the way it's a reminder, you know, people say, well, how is the scapular a reminder? Well, there's the one little spot in the middle of your back that the scapular rubs up against and causes it to itch. You can't reach that spot no matter what you do. So it reminds you that you've got the scapular, and it also provides you, that's a practical example of something that you offer in reparation for sin. It is the simple things. It is the things that pertain to the daily duty of the natural course of our lives. We don't have to go out and look for all kinds of extra things to do. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not what she asked. Take what you are, where you are.
In the ordinary part of day.
That's right. Now then, thirdly, pray the rosary. Every time Our Lady appeared, she said, pray the rosary. We pray the rosary to make reparation for sin. She told Lucia, you know, Lucia asked her a number of times if certain people would go to heaven. She said, well, yeah, that one would, but they'd have to pray a lot of rosaries. So the rosary is to make reparation for sin, and it's to bring peace to the world. And of course, what does the rosary do? It's typical mom, right? Where does she point us? She points us to her Son, because the rosary is a meditation on the mysteries of salvation history, of the life of Christ.
Right.
See? So she's pointing us to Jesus.
And she's trying to, and in praying these mysteries while we say the rosary, we're trying to get a perspective of Christ from her point of view. You know, trying to get Marian eyes on Jesus and loving Jesus with her point of view and her perspective. That's a great thing for us to do on a daily basis.
Right. The fourth thing was the communion of reparations on First Saturday, that people call the First Saturday devotion, which consists of sacramental confession, reception of communion, a praying of the rosary, and 15 minutes in meditation on the mysteries. And that, she said, in July, she would come back and ask for as well. Though there were two things she said she would come to ask for: the consecration of Russia and the communions of reparation. She came back in 1925, December 10th, and asked for the communions of reparation. And then the fifth thing is what I call Our Lady's forgotten request, because it's so easy to get lost in the shuffle. When Our Lady says, God wishes devotion to my Immaculate Heart to be spread throughout the world, who spreads it? We do. If there's anything the Council taught, it was the laity's call to holiness, the obligation of the laity to participate in the Church's work of evangelization. See? So spreading the message is critically important. So those are the five things that Our Lady asks us to do. And because we have failed to respond sufficiently to those requests, the world is in the mess that it's in today. And if you want to fix the world today, all you need to do is honor those requests. Now, some people will say, that's a little simplistic, isn't it? Well, maybe it is. But you stood at an altar this morning, and you took a piece of bread, and breathing upon it, you said, this is my body. And it became the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. And then you took a chalice with some wine. Breathing on it, you said, this is my blood. And it became the blood of Christ. How does that work? Isn't that a little simplistic? I don't know how that works, but the very next words that came out of your mouth was, let us proclaim the
mystery of faith.
Of faith.
See, they don't even know my part.
So, I don't know how that works, but I do know that when the consecration of Russia was done, within 6 years, the most powerful communist dictator on the face of the earth, Mikhail Gorbachev, had an enlightened mind, enlightened by grace. Huh? What did original sin do? Darkened our intellects, weakened our wills, subjected us to death. Well, a light goes on. Grace enters, and he realizes the error of turning away from God. And his will receives grace, and he develops the courage to take the actions that he took. And within 6 short years of that consecration, the communist flag came down from the flagpole at the Kremlin in Moscow on Christmas Day, 1991, merely 6 years after the consecration.
A little story that you probably don't know, but I got to know because I know the friar who was stationed in Assisi, and a Russian diplomat was visiting Rome, and then he went to Assisi. Mm-hmm. This friar worked at the gift shop at the Basilica of St. Francis in Assisi. And this diplomat came up to him and said, Premier Gorbachev would like me to buy him a rosary. And he said, look, I'm not going to let you buy it, you can have one. And he gave him, or the friar gave him a rosary to take back to Premier Gorbachev. Mm-hmm. So the action of grace was truly going on. And this is a powerful thing. And I didn't hear that from somebody else. I heard that from the friar himself. Uh-huh. So this is, to me, is a great sign of the grace that was moving. And it was all over the communist world that they had their final clearance closeout sales on statues of Marx and Lenin. You know, it was shut down. You know, and they literally were selling statues off.
Well, that's great. But the point is that grace works.
Yes.
We don't know how, but we know it works. And we can turn the world around if we will honor Our Lady's Fatima requests. When John Paul II elevated the status of the apostolate to that of a public association of the faithful, it was for the purpose of giving the church an official arm, an official mouthpiece to speak to the world with authority on behalf of the church on the message of Fatima, because he believed it was more important today than it was in 1917. And so did then Cardinal Ratzinger, who is now Pope Benedict. So the message is more important than ever. We have been made a public association of the faithful so that we can speak to the world with authority on behalf of the church on the entire message of Fatima. And so our mission is to help people throughout the world learn, live, and spread the message of Our Lady of Fatima.
This is something that's very important because, you know, when the Pope had consecrated the world and Russia to Our Lady, it was a time when the Cold War was still going on. Now the Cold War is over, but we have another kind of war, a hot war with terrorism. And this is a more chaotic war than the one was with Russia. And so the need for that kind of living out the message is all the greater because this new war is so risky. There are still nuclear weapons at stake in this war. And we need to pray, and it's perhaps no accident that as we deal with Muslim terrorism, that Our Lady appeared at a town that is named after a woman who is a convert from Islam to Catholicism, who is named after Muhammad's daughter, Fatima. And so that sense of the role of Our Lady is a very important one at this time, as it was in the days of the Soviet Union.
Right. in a sense, even more so.
Yeah.
We knew where all the weapons were.
Right.
Now, we don't know where they are.
We don't. And we don't know how they're going to try to bring them in. It's not by armies anymore. It's by terror. And this is a very risky situation.
Right. Well, you know, I have asked people from coast to coast if there's anyone that believes that our military is capable of preventing communists terrorists who already live within our borders from blowing things up at will. I've yet to find a single person in 2.5 years to say yes. So we are in grave peril, but you know, the annihilation of a nation by nuclear obliteration is only one way to annihilate a nation. There are other ways to do so. If you take a look at 3 simple things, and I'll cover them very quickly. Look at our nation's economy. It's just about in the tank. When you decimate a nation's economy, you go a long way toward annihilating that nation. Our nation's social institutions and government are firmly in the grips of a culture of death, the devil. A nation that places its social institutions and its government in the hands of the devil goes a long way toward annihilating itself. And finally, our Constitution has been set aside and ignored for so long and violated so often without challenge that we are no longer living by that Constitution. So are we really the constitutional republic that was handed on to us by our founding fathers?
No.
No, we are not. So a nation that trashes its Constitution goes a long way toward annihilating itself. However, the message of Fatima is a message of hope. And we are not going to be annihilated, and we are going to turn things around. Because I see people all across the country responding to Our Lady's message today in very simple ways. And that's what my work is all about. That's what the Apostolate's work is about.
That's great. Well, we'll talk more about it. We have to take a break right now, but we want to get your comments, your questions, as well as those of our studio audience. So please stay with us. Thank you and welcome back. I'd like to give you some ways to contact the World Apostolate of Fatima. And you can go to their website, which is www.wafusa.org. And that stands for World Apostolate of Fatima. WAFUSA.org. And you can find out more about the World Apostolate of Fatima. Also, if you can, we'd love to have you come and join us here at EWTN. If you can make a pilgrimage, please contact our pilgrimage department. You can call them at 205-271-2966, 205-271-2966, or go to our website, www.ewtn.com, and get more information about where you can stay, schedules for the masses, the programs, tours of the studio, and all that. We'd love to have you come and join us. Are you ready for some questions?
Yes, Father.
All right, let's start off with a call. We have Barb on the line. Hello, Barb.
Hi.
Hi, where are you from?
I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Great, and what's your question?
I was wondering the status of the children, particularly first of all, the youngest two who died shortly afterwards. And then Lucia, who has died recently. Have there been any miracles, or is anybody venerable?
All right, so among the 3 children, are any of them venerable or blessed?
You know, I don't know if
I
the
think
2
so.
children are blessed, I
Yeah,
believe.
the 2 children,
Blessed
yes.
Jacinta and Francisco, yes.
Right, right. So Francisco and Jacinta are blessed.
Right.
Sister Lucy just died.
Right, she just died a few years ago. So her cause is being accelerated, but I'm not sure where it's at. I spend so much time talking about the message and traveling, I don't follow as closely.
Yeah, so you don't know if there have been any other miracles associated with them?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, that would be something else that, you know, maybe we can find out. We have a question here from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
From Somerset, Massachusetts.
Great, and
And
what's your question?
my question is regarding the 3rd secret of Fatima. Has it ever been revealed, and if not, why not?
Okay, first of all, there's one secret, and the secret is in 3 parts. And all 3 parts of the secret have been revealed in the year 2000. Okay. That coincided with the beatification of Francisco and Jacinta. And our present Pope Benedict, then Cardinal Ratzinger, wrote the definitive theological explanation of the 3rd part of the secret.
Okay, so
it's been revealed. There's no more
And
secrets.
what was his explanation of the 3rd part of the secret?
Wow, that's a tall order.
Right, maybe in a short form.
Well, the Pope was walking through the cities in ruins, looking at all of the dead bodies, and what the Pope said was that this has to be interpreted not literally. You can't, just like Scripture, you can't take Scripture literally. The Pope is...
A lot of it you can.
Well, yeah, okay, but not entirely.
Right.
Okay,
right.
yeah, stand corrected. All the destruction, this is the prophecy of what will come about if people don't stop offending God. And of course, when people honor Our Lady's requests and begin practicing the devotions, they will not do that. So you can look at his explanation of the secret of Fatima at Vatican.va.
So Pope Benedict XVI, then Cardinal Ratzinger, gave the explanation, and you can go to Vatican.va and you can find out what it is. His explanation of the secret is there.
Right, the document is there.
Okay, so good.
Just search.
So go ahead and check that out, ma'am, and you can get it right from the Vatican itself. Okay? I have another question here. Ma'am, where are you from?
Hi, I'm from Somerset, Massachusetts.
Okay, good. Good to have you here. And what's your question?
Well, I know that at Fatima, Our Lady asked for the 5 first Saturdays devotion, and I was wondering if you could explain exactly what that procedure is and its relevance for us today.
Okay, so what are the 5 first Saturdays?
Well, the reason there are 5 is because there's 5 categories of offenses against the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The denial of the Immaculate Conception, the denial of her perpetual virginity, the denial of her universal motherhood, the desecration of her images, and those who prevent people, especially small children, from coming to know Mary as their mother, as she was given to us through John at the foot of the cross.
So for these 5 different offenses against the Immaculate Heart of Mary,
right,
Our Lady asked for 5
successive Saturdays, focusing on reparation for those 5 categories of offenses. And the 4 things that you do are the reception of Holy Communion, sacramental confession, the praying of the Rosary, and 15 minutes of meditation on the mysteries of the Rosary overall.
Now, in some situations, a person might not be able to get to confession on the Saturday. Is it okay if they go a few days before or after?
It's okay 8 days before or 8 days after.
Right.
And even, let's say a person intends they can't make it on the first Saturday, so they're going to go the following Saturday. That's within 8 days. And when they go, they've had a rough day, and they forget all about it. Oh, what am I going to do? They can even go beyond then.
Right.
So long as they adopt a disposition of mind and heart that this confession fulfills, they're doing this to fulfill that first Saturday promise.
Okay. We have another caller on the line. Hello, Mary.
Hello.
Hi, where are you from?
Pensacola, Florida.
Great. And what's your question?
Why does the Virgin Mary appear in different forms?
So why does the Virgin Mary appear in different forms? So, for instance, at Lourdes, it's different than Fatima, then it's different than Guadalupe. Why do you think that is?
Because she is the mother of all peoples, and when she goes into a particular culture, in order to be for them to have a familiarity, she will take on their characteristics. But it's the same Mary everywhere. But she wants all of her children to be comfortable in whatever culture they are.
And it's not only that, there are also different times in which she appears. So that when Our Lady appeared at Lourdes, it was right after the definition of the dogma of the Immaculate Conception. And then she says, I am the Immaculate Conception, which Saint Bernadette didn't understand, but was later explained to her.
Mm-hmm.
Our Lady is also dealing with different circumstances. At Fatima, it's a different circumstance than, say, Guadalupe. There was a world war going on and another one looming on the horizon. And this was, a different circumstance. So Our Lady's going to appear in these different forms for different needs at different times of history, as well as you say, for different people.
Right.
And that's a very important point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I have another question here from our studio audience. Father, where are you from?
Diocese of Rockford, Holy Family Parish.
Good to have you. Rockford,
Thank
Illinois,
you.
I take it.
Yes.
All right.
So you mentioned the individual's consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and you recommended wearing the brown scapular. What would you recommend for a parish to consecrate itself to the Immaculate Heart of Mary? Are there any practices that have taken place throughout the country or elsewhere?
All right. So is there some way that a parish can do a community consecration to Our Lady?
Mm-hmm. The most common is the enthronement. We're all familiar with home enthronement to the Sacred Heart and the Immaculate Heart. Well, if you can do that same thing to a whole parish. Pastors have done that in various parts of the country. And I'm not sure that if I thought about it for a minute, I could tell you where you might go to find information, but the ritual would be very much the same. It would just be applying to the parish. And that's becoming very common. Same thing with Montfort, total consecration, the totus tuus, consecration to Our Lady according to St. Louis de Montfort. There's a big effort underway right now to get many people to do that in parishes. Not only are individuals in parishes doing it, but pastors are consecrating their parishes, and those who want to participate, of course. So yes, it can be done in groups.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. This is one of the things that can be done at a ceremony like May crowning, or this is August, and we'll be coming up to the feast of the Coronation of the Blessed Virgin Mary. That was a day set aside for the consecration of the world to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Popes have recommended that, and that would be a great thing to do.
Right.
So that's coming up August 22nd. And that would be a wonderful day for a parish to have a ceremony of consecration to the Blessed Mother. Maybe a simple prayer while facing the image of Our Lady.
There's even a bishop in one diocese, I'm lost right now for the diocese, who has consecrated his whole diocese.
Good.
So it's really wonderful.
Yeah, we need to do more of that. We have another question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
Anniston, Alabama.
Anniston, Alabama, just down the road from us. Good to see you here. And what's your question?
Do you have a consecration for families and a way for them to participate together in this apostolate?
Yes. Families, the basic building block of the apostolate, kind of the first response, is what we call a World Apostolate of Fatima prayer cell, where all of the Fatima prayers are collected together in a booklet and what we call universal intentions that all prayer cells pray for. And typically, the prayer cell not only does the praying of the rosary and all the Fatima prayers, but there's also a period of study of Our Lady's apparitions and the message, so people can gain a deeper insight and greater appreciation and be fortified to live the message faithfully for themselves. Now, the typical prayer cell meets in a parish church in the presence of the Blessed Sacrament. That is sometimes not possible, so they will go from the homes of various members. And then, of course, in today's world, families are so busy that moms and dads barely have any time for anything anymore. So a family can be a World Apostolate of Fatima prayer cell. And we're working in conjunction. As a matter of fact, I just met today with John Prius of the Fatima Family Apostolate, which is right here in the Diocese of Birmingham, and we were talking about ways that we can work together to help one another out. And Father Fox founded that apostolate.
Right.
And the focus was the family, see? So I was reviewing a bunch of materials that John showed me today, because the World Apostolate of Fatima doesn't have those things. Why reinvent the wheel? Maybe there are some things that we can use together.
Right.
And so, by all means, families are critically important, and we can have prayer cells and consecrations of families and the home enthronements. And as I was telling you, you and I are going to be over in Paray-le-Monial, France from the 6th through the 11th of October for the first ever Sacred Heart World Congress, where we're going to take the Sacred and Immaculate Hearts and place them side by side as Our Lady asked for.
Yeah, because the Sacred Heart of Jesus is not in competition with the Immaculate Heart of Mary. I mean, that's absurd. Right. That our devotion and consecration to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and our consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary go hand in hand, and that we need to have both of these senses of commitment to the Lord.
That's right. That's right. There's no competition. Our Lady always leads us to her Son because that's where she is. The Immaculate Heart of Mary is contained within the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And so it is not, the language today, we talk about the Sacred Hearts.
Right.
So.
Now, one of the things that you have not really talked much about is the Blue Army. Mm-hmm. And this is part of what you do, is it not?
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the Blue Army.
Okay, what we do, now I'm the National Coordinator for the United States. The mission is to help people learn, live, and spread the message of Fatima. Now, we do that in the United States by forming divisions on a diocesan level. We'd like
what do you mean form divisions? I mean, you divide people against each other or what?
No. Okay.
Oh, that's Army divisions.
No. Well, yeah, Army divisions.
Army divisions.
Army divisions.
Oh,
Blue Army.
All right, all right.
Okay. But it is the organizational structure.
Because I want to make sure everybody gets along.
Right. It's the organizational structure at the diocesan level from which we reach out into the parishes of the diocese to bring the message to the parishes. And then we try to establish chapters in each of the parish, and the members of the chapter in the parish spread the message throughout their parish with a variety of programs. Now, the most important and the most popular program we have going right now is the National Pilgrim Virgin Statute program.
What does that mean with the National Pilgrim?
The National Pilgrim Virgin Statute. 25 statues were handcrafted by an artist in Fatima and blessed by Paul VI and sent out, one each, to various countries of the world. Because the reality is that most people will never have an opportunity to make a pilgrimage to Fatima. They'll never get to go. So the statues blessed and commissioned to bring Fatima to the people where they are. And so we have a custodian who travels with the statue, and she visits various parishes in a diocese, typically, anywhere from 15 to 20, sometimes 25 parishes in 25 successive days throughout a diocese. People come and they listen to the custodian talk about what Our Lady told us at Fatima, and he invites them all to make an initial response. And this is a way that people hear about the message, and then the people in that parish chapter, they help with the logistics there, and they will follow up with the people from their parish who come to see Our Lady and teach them more, see? Okay. And that's how the division grows and the overall apostolate grows. So if you live in a diocese that does not have a division and you would like to have the statute come to your diocese, that can be arranged. All they have to do is contact me or the custodian, Bill Saki, by going to WAFUSA.org. Or you can do bluearmy.com if you want as well.
Okay, so bluearmy.com or WAFUSA.
Right. The Blue Army and the World Apostolate of Fatima are one and the same thing. Okay. Pope John Paul II, during the process of making us a public association of the faithful, said, change your name. Because if you want to go to Somalia and get a visa to get in, and they say, why are you coming? And you say, well, we want to establish the Blue Army. What army?
Right.
They don't understand that. So he very wisely said, you should have the name. Now we carry the tag, Our Lady's Blue Army, after it. Our official name is the World Apostolate of Fatima. Our Lady's Blue Army is a tag. Because so many people know, if you say Blue Army, everybody knows what you're talking about.
As a matter of fact, when I was a newly ordained priest, the Blue Army in Chicago used to get me to come down to Skid Row. This is where I learned how to hear confessions. They would go to the bars and bring in all the alcoholics, and they would come to confession, and then I would say Mass, you know, over there, and they'd give them something to eat and all that. So the Blue Army got me started hearing confessions, sort of the East River swimming lesson type, jump into the deep and find out what it's like.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm familiar with the Blue Army, that's for sure.
Yeah, the statue is in the Archdiocese of Chicago as we speak.
Oh,
now.
Is that right?
Yeah, she's traveling the Archdiocese, and people are flocking, people are coming. You know, Father, it is not that that we need millions and millions of people. We need the faithful few. I'll never forget Raymond Arroyo on the World Over Live, or whatever it was called. Interviewed then Cardinal Ratzinger, and he said, what is John Paul talking about when he talks about this new springtime of the church? And I'll never forget then Cardinal Ratzinger saying, well, it certainly isn't going to be masses of people flocking back into our churches. It's going to be little pockets of the faithful. And if we hearken back to Abraham bargaining for Sodom and Gomorrah, we see, if we can find 10 people, well, he couldn't find 10, so he tried for 8 and so on. And he couldn't find enough.
No, 10 was his bottom line. He started off with 50, and then he went down to 10.
Yeah, all right, got down to 10.
So no wonder you don't take the Bible literally. You got to know it better.
Right.
Come on, let's get going here.
You're right. Well, anyway, they couldn't find enough people, but at Nineveh, Jonah convinced them to change. See? So I believe, I'm firmly convinced, as I see the response of people all around the country, interested, wanting to know, and wanting to do, I have great hope that things will turn around. But we can't, you know, there's one thing Our Lady said at Fatima that I wish she had never said.
What's that?
She said, in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. Now, of course, that's the basis of our hope, and I say that kind of facetiously. But you see what happens when Our Lady says, in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. Everybody goes, whoa.
I can relax.
Yeah. See? And that's what we don't want. We want people
motivated
to seriously do what Our Lady
Well, again, as you brought up earlier, we do see that there are a number of really serious problems in our culture, in Western Europe. The Christian world has a lot of problems, and there are great difficulties going on. We need to be very much motivated to start living out these messages so that we can have an impact on the bad situation that exists.
That's right. If we look at Jacinta and Francisco's response, Francisco was so concerned because Our Lady talked about how much God is offended by the sins of mankind, and especially in the Eucharist. And so Francisco went off to console Jesus, the hidden Jesus in the Eucharist. He went and hid under the pew in the church and spent hours there to console God. Jacinta took another tack. Jacinta wanted to save souls. And so she was constantly looking for things to do, penances and sacrifices. Our Lady didn't ask her to look for extra things to do. She said, consecrate the things that come, the sanctification of your daily duty. There's plenty of that. And you know the funny thing, Father? All of these things that come to us, these inconveniences, these aches and pains and troubles, they're coming.
Right.
They're coming. So why waste them?
Right.
Why not sanctify them and give them back? Why not turn them into? You know, one of John Paul's first encyclicals was it Salvifici? I'm not very good at Latin. Salvifici Doloris?
Salvifici Doloris.
Yeah. The value of human suffering.
Right.
Huh? That was a profound encyclical. And when you look at all the people, I guess, let me put it this way. Most of us who are still walking around, you know, there's a lot that we can do, and sometimes we think we do more than we actually do. But the most valuable time in our lives will be when we can no longer walk around, when we can't do anything, when everything has to be done for us. I'm talking about the people in nursing homes, in assisted living facilities, the homebound, that are lonesome, they're lonely, they don't know why they're here.
Right. We experienced that with Mother Angelica. You know, she has been, you know, bedridden for a number of years, and you know, she's certainly suffers in that because she was such a fantastic communicator, and now she can't communicate. But while she has been laid up in the same way that you're describing, we have experienced our greatest period of growth of the network, that she offers up her sufferings for us, and we've expanded 3 times the size we were before she got sick. You know, so it's just been amazing, amazing.
And that all the people in that kind of condition or similar conditions can do the same thing to make reparation for sin, to bring about that conversion of sinners, which will save souls from hell and bring peace to the world. And so they are the most valuable assets we have.
Right.
Not necessarily the people that can be on TV, that can give talks, that can do all sorts of things.
Oh, sure, go ahead. Shoot me down. Shoot me down.
I'm shooting us both down. But that really is something that needs to be.
Thank God I'm not defensive.
Yeah.
No, this is this is a very important aspect, and you know that this is why we don't believe that mercy killing is mercy. You know, just to get people out of their misery. As a matter of fact, they can make a great sanctification of their misery and pain, and that it's not contrary to God's mercy. This is one of the things that all of us learn in various ways. Again, I want to give the information one more time. It's www.wafusa.org. WAFUSA, or WAFUSA.org, World Apostolate of Fatima. You can be part of doing something to help listen to the message of Our Lady, to pass on this to other people, to show it as a way of your own life, and to help other people share in this way of life. The world needs it, and this has been, I think, a great message that you've brought us here today. So I want to thank you for being with us and for being part of this program and doing this with us.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, and we'll pray for one another.
Amen. Speaking of praying for one another, I want to give you all my blessing. May Almighty God bless you and keep you. may He cause His face to shine upon you. May He lead you in all of your ways and guide you by His peace. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And, you know, again, I want to remind you, we can bring you guests like Deacon Bob Ellis and all the other guests who come here, and the various series that we do here, because you bring this network to you. You make it possible by your donations. Without your help, we can't do it. And during the summertime, things are down a little bit, you know, as usual. So we need your support. Please keep us in between your gas bill, your electric bill, and your cable bill. And we'll be able to pay all of our bills and let all the creditors get their due and keep bringing you all these programs. God bless you and thank you very much.